My administration has been closely monitoring the situation in Egypt. As the situation continues to unfold, our first concern is preventing injury or loss of life. So I want to be very clear in calling upon the Egyptian authorities to refrain from any violence against peaceful protesters.
The Pennsylvania Crimes Code. No matter what your purpose is, lethal munitions, which could cause risk of injury to those who remain. The police action may include actual physical removal, the use of riot control to those who remain.
The people of Egypt have rights that are universal. That includes the right to peaceful assembly and association, the right to free speech, and the ability to determine their own destiny.
I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. Remain in this immediate vicinity. You will be in violation of the Pennsylvania Crimes Code.
These are human rights, and the United States will stand up for them everywhere.
LaRouchePAC.com or LaRouchePub.com, both very interesting and informative websites, talking about the global plan for world government population reduction, the British Empire through the corporate system.
Well, let's take the case of 9/11 as a good example of exactly how this whole system works still today, including that kind of problem you referred to. What happened is that the British system, to a certain branch of its operations, together with the Saudi kingdom, set up an operation, a secret operation, which they would take oil prices in the Gulf, at the Gulf prices, then move it up to the coast of Europe, northern, and then they would sell it on the market at a European price, which is much above the Saudi price. They would, however, list the oil delivered at the Saudi Gulf price. This created a vast fund, the largest available fund for dirty operations, military and others, which existed in the world at that time. This funding was used for what was called 9/11. And the whole operation was based on this, the 9/11 operation. Now, this was well known. The evidence of the direct relationship of the Saudi ambassador to Washington and his involvement in recruiting and backing and funding some of the pilots who actually flew those planes was conclusive evidence which was buried under the pressure of the Bush administration. But that is the truth. The truth was never told publicly, though many of us knew it. The evidence existed, we knew it, other people knew it, but it was never presented in the press. Even the people who are on the commission, who were investigating precisely this line of investigation, were pressed not to open their mouths. The same was practically a national secret. But it was the alliance of the Saudi kingdom and this faction inside the British system which funded, directed, and created the 9/11 incident. And that's a fact we have to remember. We're in this kind of mess because the Bush administration obtained dictatorial powers over the presidency and over the Congress through the terror caused by this event. And that's the thing that's still harassing us today. And we should get the record clear.
Lyndon LaRouche is our guest, joining us via video Skype from Germany. You were getting into their plan for world population reduction. I mean, look at California going into total implosion, 30+% unemployment. Even 60 Minutes did an analysis and admitted that last year. Their answer is ram through a 20+% carbon tax on California. I mean, if that isn't proof of the economic genocide, what is, Lyndon LaRouche?
Well, that's what you're getting. You're getting that. There is real genocide, and it's intentional. And the Obama administration is an instrument of that policy of genocide. If you look at the policies which are uttered by the Obama administration itself, as apart from many other sources inside the United States, we find that only Obama and what he represents and his immediate cronies are the people who are behind in the healthcare, in other fields, to increase the killing rate of what is considered an excessively large U.S. population. So we're not involved in a political quarrel. We're involved in an existential issue. Are we going to be human, or are we going to be cannibals? That's what we are. If you go with Obama, you're for the cannibal class. And that's what we're headed for. Therefore, once we pass Glass Steagall, if we do it, and there's a strong movement for that now, if we do that, then we are able to get rid of several or tens of trillions of dollars of phony debt, which the nation is now carrying, which is ruining our states, destroying our population. We can reverse that process. Obama is the advocate of the British interest. He's a tool of the British. They own him. They control his mind. He's just an agent who is bought, whose presidency was bought by a vast influx of drug money and other corrupt currency. But for this drug money flood, which brought Obama into the presidency, he would not have been president. And that's the situation. So now we're at the point where the policies of Obama are the enemy of the United States, the enemy of our existence. We're not talking about a long-term enemy. We're talking about a short-term enemy. We could be destroyed irreparably within a few weeks from now.
Explain the technicals of that, because the collapse by design, I mean, they're on record engineering it to absorb. Greece, Ireland, Iceland has resisted. They now admit is inevitable into Italy, Portugal. I mean, can you lay out the technicals of how you're saying in a few weeks this could accelerate? Break down that chain of events.
The point is, if you acknowledge, if you try to collect what the British essentially control, which is a worthless debt, the mass of many trillions of dollars and more, there are actually quadrillions of phony value out there clamoring for being fed. All we have to do is pass Glass Steagall again now, with the understanding of what we've been through. If we do that, these guys will go bankrupt. Their phony claims against the United States.
Because that will further implode the current Ponzi scheme they've got. And to quantify it, correct me if I'm wrong, they've created 1.5 quadrillion in derivatives. They bought off our governments to buy into the debt, and it's a black hole. If we don't pull out of it, there's no hope.
Exactly. The point is, the debt we have is not legitimate debt of our government under our Constitution. Therefore, that debt would go back to Wall Street, and Wall Street would have to find its own resources to pay the debt, the phony debt, that it created.
Any governor that goes after him, any grand jury, any congressperson, as you know, they get busted for something, or their plane blows up. So how do you stop them?
Very simply, Glass Steagall. If we re-enact the 1933 Glass-Steagall Act, which was canceled in 1999, if we do that, we are immediately in a new situation in which the only currency, the only credit system operating is the United States government's treasury system. We then have to use the power of the treasury under those conditions to utter credit, not money, credit. We give credit to projects which we think are worth the public investment in them. We support private industries and so forth, which are going to do this, like agriculture. We have a crisis in agriculture in the United States. We have a food supply which is insufficient for our total population right now. We can get that back if we put the investment back into the Mississippi, the Iowa, and the Missouri River areas alone. These areas will give us a growth in food supply. We have major projects, infrastructure projects, not what they call infrastructure, but real ones, like Moapa. We can change the character and improve the character qualitatively simply by using public credit to loan it in the places where it will do the most good from a strategic standpoint. For example, take the state of California. The state of California is dying under these conditions. We can rescue it. We have other states, 3 other states that are dying right now. This is all intentional. The intention is to reduce the world population from over 7 billion people to 1 in the shortest possible time. If you understand that, then you know what's going on. If you don't understand that, you really don't know what's going on. The point is, you're looking at a whole system, and the system was born with the founding of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire, the original one, collapsed, but then it was revived as Byzantium. That collapsed. It was revived as a Crusader system. That collapsed. And then after a whole series of wars in Europe, it was established as a new empire with William of Orange, who carried the flag of the new Venetian party from the Netherlands into England and Ireland, and did a lot of killing. But his outcome of his actions with the 7 Years' War, which concluded in 1763, established the British Kingdom as an imperial power on the planet, including its control of India, its control over Nova Scotia, Canada, and so forth.
Is that why they put him in, because he's black, and they thought that would give him political cover? Because it's admitted that the carbon taxes proposed at Copenhagen would kill at least 1 billion people if they were implemented within 5 years. And that was just the first rollout. And they told the third world, hey, go for this. We're going to tax the West, give it to you. And then they got the treaty, and it was right at double the taxes that the West would pay on people making less than $2 a day. It was a death sentence.
I know.
I know you know, but I mean, how do we stop these people? They're madmen.
They are criminals. And we have to understand that. We have to establish our government again free of the Obama syndrome.
What is your view of the political candidates?
I think what we have now is we have among some senators and among members of the House of Representatives, and in terms of the elite institutions of the gubernatorial system, has a lot of good people in it. We have the ability, and we're pushing for the Glass Steagall reenactment. And it's a very serious and it's a growing movement right now. We're moving to reinstall Glass Steagall. That'll change the whole game. We in the United States, with our government, as long as we control it, has the capacity to create credit. We can put the United States back to work.
So it's policy. They could turn this around anytime they wanted to, but they don't want that to happen. What happens if we don't? I mean, couldn't we impeach Obama? There's more than one way to skin a cat. I mean, couldn't we go after Obama for the war powers issue? I mean, Ron Paul was on with us 2 days ago. He said it's absolutely impeachable.
He's impeachable on that ground. He's impeachable because he's insane also. And he couldn't be what he is if he weren't insane. This man is a mental case of a certain type.
He thinks we have 57 states. He doesn't even know the ages of his daughters now. There's news today asking if Obama is starting to have mental problems.
He's crazy. But he's like the famous Nero, Emperor Nero. He's got the same syndrome of the Emperor Nero psychologically. But the point is, he's used as a tool by the British monarchy personally. That is, he is not an agent of some conspiracy. He's an agent of one conspiracy, an agent of the British monarchy.
And we're hearing the same thing, that these people are taking to the streets because they're angry that the people who caused the economic problems are not the ones who are being punished for it.
It's what we said from the beginning. You go back to the Trends Journal over 8 months ago. It was Off With Their Heads 2.0. We said that the global Ponzi scheme was under collapse. And that's what we're seeing happening, whether it's in Tunisia, whether it's in Egypt, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in Greece. Watch out for Spain. Here comes Italy. Ireland's coming up the back stretch. It's only going to get much worse. There's no way out, and the people are angry. You know my saying, Christina, when people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And that's what it is. The people know the score. You could sum up what's killed capitalism in 4 simple words. Too big to fail. And that's what's going on. The banks are failing, and they want the people to bail them out. Because, hey, after all, they don't like to take a hit, these big guys.